Welcome to Crossroads. I'm your host, Judy Davis. Today on Crossroads, we're going to focus on families at a crossroads, in particular kinship families. And today's guests we have Jerry Wallace. Jerry is with us and he's wearing two hats today. He's the director of New York State's Kinship Navigator, and he's also here representing Catholic Family Center. And we also have with us Linda James, and she is the community-based supervisor of Skip Generations, a program of Family Resource Centers of Crestwood, which is an affiliate of Hillside Family of Agencies. Welcome to Crossroads.
Thank you.
To viewers who may not be familiar with the term, could you share what is a kinship family?
Well, a kinship care family is any relative who's taking care of their relatives. For example, you could be a grandmother raising your grandchild. You could be uncle, aunt raising your nephews and nieces. So anybody that's raising their relatives is a kinship caregiver.
Oh, okay. Now, how many kinship care families do we have in Monroe County?
We've got about 12,000 children in the care, according to the census, of over 4,000 grandparents. But there also are aunts and uncles, and unfortunately the census doesn't track them. The used figure is usually another 25 to 35% of aunts and uncles, adult siblings, and sometimes even you associate what they call a kinship family friends, which aren't really blood relatives, but are pseudo-kin. So there can even be a friend of the family involved. Yeah.
Wow, that's a significant number of children and families impacted.
Yeah, and statewide we have 141,000 grandparents caring for their grandchildren, just in New York State. And if you add in that kind of vague 25 to 35%, we're up over 175, close to 200,000 adults who are not parents caring for children.
Wow, okay. Well, comparing other types of families to a kinship care family, what needs are unique to a kinship care family?
Well, I think the needs that are unique is that it's a tri-family. You have the grandchild, you have the grandmother, and you have the biological parents, and these are all issues that the grandmother or the aunt or the uncle is dealing with. There is some real deep emotional things that's going on in this family. For example, you might have a biological child who is on drugs, and the grandmother is taking care of their child, okay? Well, the grandmother has to deal with the biological child who may come by every now and then, okay? And she or he wants to threaten the grandmother that I'll take the child if you don't give me this or you don't give me that. So there's a lot of dynamics here in these families that we deal with.
Well, I'd like to add, building on what Linda said, you can see the parallel there with foster families and children who are removed and placed in foster care. There are some kinship families that are in foster care. They'd be called kinship foster families. But we're talking about families who are on their own. For the most of the care done by kin is outside of foster care, yet the reasons are similar. And one of the chief causes is parents who cannot parent, whether they're unable or unwilling, or some reason or another. There's irresponsibility, drug-related issues, as Linda's alluding to. Mm-hmm. And then you have these dynamics of families where the parent is trying to get better, or maybe not trying to get better, maybe really suffering from mental illness, and these families have to cope with that mostly on their own. There are, however, many other issues that therefore start to come into play. Financial assistance, legal rights to children, how secure and how stable can these families be, how the courts will back them up to give them orders of guardianship, custody, and then other kinds of services that are just readily apparent from what Linda has described.
Now, hearing the unique needs of a kinship family, what needs do each of your organizations seek to meet? And we do have 3 organizations, even though we have 2 people sitting here. We have 3. So I'll start with you, Linda. How does Skip Generation's Peer Mentor Program, what needs does that program seek to meet?
Well, first of all, Judy, our program starts with an educational/support groups, okay, and where we have a curriculum that we go through with the grandmother or the kinship caregiver, and this curriculum helps them with communicating, discipline. It helps them how to navigate the special ed system. It helps them to fill out the child-only grant application for the Department of Social Services. And it's just a basic skills of just learning new techniques for raising children in today's society.
Oh, okay.
First, I have to mention Catholic Family Center. That's our parent organization. Catholic Family Center is a large nonprofit here in Monroe County with over 60 programs in 15 locations, serving a myriad of different programs, but in 4 main areas: housing services, family services, workforce services. And the major area for us is the family services, where they serve the elderly and they serve the young. And inside Catholic Family Center, there was until recently the Kinship Center, KCRN. You've got it.
The
right?
Kinship Resource Network.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And that was the local program, somewhat similar, different, but similar to what Linda did. That program lost its funding last March, and Catholic Family Center is interested in providing through its wide network of programs as much assistance as it can to these kinship families. Inside that Catholic Family Center umbrella, there's one special program, the Kinship Navigator, because the Kinship Navigator is a statewide program funded by the Office of Children and Family Services. So although we're located here in Monroe County, we are a service organization for the entire state. My major office is down in Albany. And so you have to look at Catholic Family Center for the umbrella of services and then for the specialized statewide service that they offer to kinship families.
Okay. Now also, I believe that Skip Generations, through Family Resource Center and its affiliation with Hillside Agency, that you have access to an integrated care system. Could you tell us a little bit more about that?
That system is, as you know, Hillside is a very large agency. And so they work with a lot of kids in residential. They do day treatment as well. And there's a lot of residential services all over Monroe County, some in Syracuse, some everywhere is Hillside. We also have the Hillside Work Scholarship, which I'm sure everybody is affiliated with that. And they work in the schools to help the kids graduate, have a better rate of graduating. So there's a lot of services that we offer, and we're in the phone book. So if you need any type of services, there's a direct line that you can call, and they will hook you up to whatever services that you need.
Okay, and your number?
Well, my number for Kinship is different than the number
for
the Hillside. Yes.
Well, we'll have it on the tape when it's rolling by. And just one last question. Could you share a little bit about KinGap?
KinGap is a recently enacted state program that was authorized by federal legislation in 2008 to allow kin who are foster parents. Remember, I said that's a small subset of the entire kinship population. It's singularly for kin who are foster parents to be foster parents for a limited period of time and then to exit foster care, become the guardians of the child, and continue to receive the foster care payment until the child is 18 or in some instances 21. It's very similar to what they call the adoption subsidy, but here the kin do not have to terminate the parents' rights necessarily. They can do it via guardianship, and it's a way to keep the family dynamics that Linda was alluding to earlier. Give them a more kind of wholesome environment. Parents don't have to no longer be parents. Grandparents don't have to become parents. And it's a way for the family to have a healthier environment, continue to get the subsidy, and leave foster care to be independent. Kinship, guardianship, KinGap is the short word for it. You can go to the Office of Children and Family Services website or to the Navigator's website. New York State Kinship Navigator is the way to Google it, and you can find a lot of information about that program.
Okay. Well, that's going to be the end of this segment. We'll be back in a moment to talk a little bit more about the services that these agencies provide.